Hello and welcome back to F1 Manager, where I immediately need to address something. Not everyone would have seen the community post I put, and people may be wondering why there was no Thursday episode as a result of that. Effectively, the game is broken. I think I've maybe fixed it. At the very least, I found the root cause and neutered the root cause, or the symptom, as I say. Fixed the symptoms. I don't know if I'm actually going to be able to fix the root cause. In order to explain, I needed to bring you back to Australia. Now, I don't have a save point that's immediately after Australia, for whatever reason. You may recall this was the situation of the car of the day of Australia, so this is going to be closest. My memory's failing me here a bit, because I could have sworn DRS and high speed were the other way round. DRS was the one that was first and high speed was the one that was third, but the point remains, this was kind of how it looked like. We were lacking in most areas, ultimately ahead on DRS, ahead on high speed and ahead on tyre preservation, those three areas. And even though we were behind in some areas and they looked quite drastic in some spaces, it wasn't an unbelievable gap to getting to average, at least, particularly with top speed, which was 17th, even though we were just a notch directly behind it effectively. This was the situation. Really remember DRS and high speed here specifically. This is the situation 3 Grand Prix later, literally 5 weeks later, with no further developments on the car. There is one piece that I can put on which will fix engine cooling essentially to average, but just 5 weeks later, all the other AI teams have developed to the point where this car is miles behind in everything. High speed, which you may remember, we were miles above, second last, in 5 weeks. So obviously, this isn't possible. Something is broken. And I think, after a bit of research and trying to work it out, because the 1.9 patch was the only thing that's changed between starting last season and this season. Nothing else has come in that time. Only one patch has come in, and there was nothing in the 1.9 patch that specifically dealt with AI car design and things like that. The only thing that was tangentially related is this: development focus, where one of the options is car development. Now, weirdly, for some reason, broken in terms of showing me what it actually improves. I think effectively what that says is driver preparation is one of the things. That's how fast they get acclimatization, I think, maybe things like that in practice. But the one that's not visible is obviously to do with actual car development. Expertise gain, I suspect. Actually, I pulled it up from the original blog post, and the second one there is car part development speed. So it's nothing to do with the actual expertise gain specifically, but that's where the problem is. The AI, looking under the hood via external programs, the AI had experience gains that were 2 to 4 times in some cases over the course of this season so far than mine. Now bear in mind, I do 2 car parts at a time with 5 engineers. The AI, when they've got 10, effectively do 3 parts at a time with 334, and the AI with 15 engineers do 4 parts at a time. Already they're developing more parts simultaneously than we do normally, but that's mostly because I do that on purpose, because AI don't specialize their parts, so they're less potent than mine usually are, because we get to obviously specialize and put the efforts into specific areas of each part that then make them more suited to their strengths, whereas the AI just do flat across the board and there's just an equal improvement across the thing and they get less out of them. So combining 3/4 car parts being designed at any one time with increased car part development speed, because all of your affiliates can do that as well, I think they were getting car parts in insanely quickly. As of Imola Grand Prix, this day in-game, 1st of April, some teams were developing a 5th spec. I hadn't even completed my 2nd specs of everything yet. They were all on definitely 4th of everything, and some starting 5th. I think that's where the problem is, because they're developing car parts so fast, they're accumulating expertise on, as a result, even faster. And there's no way to nerf that, because this car development, driver development focus thing is not in the save database editing stuff yet. So I can't do anything about modifying the car part development speed bonus. If I could just eliminate the car part development bonus speed from this, then that would solve the entire problem, I think, but I can't. So what I've done is I've reduced all their expertises, similar to mine, and I've tried to reduce the number of engineers they have so they develop less parts at a time. That second one, I don't think is going to stick. I think that one just gets reset every single time they finish a car part, which might be a problem. Effectively, that's what I'm going to try and do. If I can't make that stick, What I might do is make every single AI team have design center level 5, so they'll get the extra bonuses from the facility effects. I'll give them all design 5 because they don't care about money in the first place, so they can have the monthly upkeep thing. Costs more for you than it is giving you a benefit too, possibly. 4 versus 5 and design center is a decision to make. What I could do is give the AI all design level center 5 and make sure that the engineer capacity that comes with that is essentially less engineers. So then they design less parts. Or if they do still try to design multiple parts, they'll be using less engineers and they'll take longer. So that's my intended solution. I don't know if it's going to work, and I hope, because I can't really delay recording any longer, if it doesn't work, do not hold it against me if I then just have to manually nerf the AI's capabilities. Bring them back down to a level that would make sense. I'll try and be sensible. If that's the case, I'll try and be sensible. I won't overly do it. I'll bring them back to effectively where they should be in comparison to us based on the car parts that we've developed, allowing them to have actually developed a little bit in the same time. I hope that you'll trust me to bring that down if that happens to be the case. I'm hoping this works and that I don't have to do that. Effectively, welcome back to Japan Race 2, because we're going back to this point. I would go from the beginning of the season, but we've already done Australia and I don't want to have to deal with that. So realistically, we should have been in a much better position for Australia in the first place. We've already taken a hit in that sense. But I'm still designing the same 2 parts that I was designing before, which come with really big boosts actually across the board. The one that you should have seen there, which I was developed in time for Imola, which wasn't on the car, was this 20% in engine. So don't get me wrong, the parts that we're doing are providing big jumps. Interestingly, I appear to have nerfed my own engineers at the same time by mistake. I forgot to leave my own. This would be a good idea though. This would be good to see actually if it does stick. The other thing I'm going to do for the time being is, this might all compound, but I'm going to put car development on easy because that halves their expertise gain. So if they don't get if they get all their engineers back, this should help nerf that. Because as I say, most of their expertise gains were 2 to 4 times more than mine, which then becomes a snowball effect with the incessant amount of car parts they were developing until they get this fixed. But enough of that. There's no actual, ironically, news otherwise. There we go. Actually, I should have brought you to this day. This is where we're DRS first and not first in high speed. So I knew I wasn't going crazy. But anyway, we'll get into the simulation of Japan and then the simulation of China, and then we'll do Imola properly, hopefully, provided this all actually works. So in case you're wondering, I'm still doing practice, so I get that. Kind of weird that I'm doing practice but not the race. But we simulate these sessions, knowing that you don't find out immediately, as I've discovered already, once. Okay, Lando, I was going to say this, Lando outperformed the car in the first simulation and got good points. So technically by doing it again, I was risking that good result. But he's doing it again, at least qualifying wise, he's doing it again. Zane 14th. I wish you get to see the starting grid. I should probably use that, but there's no problems at this point. So give them plenty, different strategies, but that's a positive Crofty commentary. Okay, so we definitely got points. I can't tell which car that is. It's got medium tyres on. I don't think that's accurate because neither car should have finished on a medium tyre. Oh, wow. Zane got points. Okay, technically better with better. That's actually much better because Zane's got points here as well. Lando's about the same. Teo out helps part of that, having qualified second. Actually, what happened to Lawson? Actually, I'm glad that Perez was 4th because I think he was 3rd originally. Must have been for Antonelli, though. So at least Perez got, admittedly, he hasn't got a podium, but it's close in points to Perez. Bizarre result for Perez, but he's done it again. Good pit stops. And actually, that's worse for me because he gets paid out because I think he was 6th originally and Maloney wasn't even in the points. Worse for me financially by 200 grand, but that's about it. If I'm not mistaken, less things have just failed there as well. So interesting. It's not, I put with 2 development drivers on car development, this has moved from 9th to 8th. So it's not that much different. The other one's not moved at all. I suppose it takes a while, doesn't it? Yeah, they're still only in 1 bar of 3. So maybe once they get to 3 out of 3, that rate increases because the AI would have had them on from the start. So they'll already be set up. That's not promising, but I'm not surprised by this because the AI would have still been developing the parts. So they would have already been developing the parts with the boosts. So I think I am going to have to go in and manually affect these a little bit. I will try and see a look at which parts AI have developed, see if I can, see which parts they've developed recently and try and give them that boost, but obviously neuter it a bit because this is unsustainable. I think the test is going to be effectively from next ATR period onwards, once they're developing with the new expertise levels and engineers, maybe. I've still only got 4 engineers, so that's actually stuck. surprisingly. And this is actually going up, -6%. You can see there, actually, -6%. So that's with 2 drivers on level 1. AIs have full 10 sets of affiliates. So a set of 10 affiliates, I should say. I don't know how many they'd be putting on it. Interesting that's looped around and says 4. Trying to work out what's been added. This is my theory right now of where we should be roughly. We're still losing out a little bit in comparison on DRS effectiveness. High speed stayed about the same. That's probably actually my fault. I probably should have balanced out a little bit better. But overall, we're still in roughly the same ballpark. A little bit worse. We're still we've overall gone down still, as we should, from 15th, I think it was, to 17th, which makes sense because we've not developed any parts since the last time I looked at that overall performance. That makes sense. We've gone down. We've lost a little bit in DRS. People have developed rear wings. That's fine. We've gone from 1st to 8th. That makes sense. If a few people have brought a rear wing in that time, that makes sense. Tire preservation, we've gone down a little bit, I think. High speed, I think we've gone down on average a little bit, but we're still 3rd. And we've lost ground in a lot of other areas where people have brought parts effectively. Realistically, that makes sense. China, we're still stuck in China no matter what, 21st, either way. I think realistically, the test is going to be the next set of parts to see if that brings the AI a huge jump forward again, because it shouldn't do now. Fingers crossed. As we start with China, don't forget, regardless of what I would have done here, we were going to be terrible. But we'll check with the starting grid. Yep, that seems about right, although Lando has done okay in 11th. Fair dues. Just checking there's no real change there. There was no issues with qualifying, so... better car on the soft first, I would have said. Alright, and then simulate. We'll simulate based off these strategies and a couple of laps taken out. I take less out on these simulations just because I don't know what the AI does with them. I want to give them at least enough that it's not a problem. Doesn't sound great. Max Verstappen wins, though, in China in the Ferrari. Charles Leclerc 3rd in the Haas. Oh, Zane got points. Wait, what? Oh, dear. Théo Pourchaire was 21st, but Charles Leclerc was 3rd. Still, our drivers do drop down. They're both on 22 points as they stand, and we drop down in the constructors nonetheless. Good pit stops, though. Sub 2 seconds for both drivers in the end, and we get all our money because we don't make 5th at all. It's gone a lot better for Maloney in this version of simulations. Although, admittedly, of course, our car was better than it was when I did the first run round. Okay, so our side pods now come in 1 day earlier as well. Not that it matters at all, but it does prove that this obviously does get better the longer they're, as they said it would. It does get better the longer they are attached to it. Yeah, they're now on 2 out of 3. So if I go on car pass development, it now says -7%. So realistically, apparently you can only put 3 on that. So I think you could probably get 5% a piece, I'm going to guess. If that was 2 out of 3, I'm going to guess you can get about 5% per one. So the AI are developing 15% faster than they would be normally if they're limited to 3 as well. It all adds up in the end, doesn't it? Nice though, people developing. Now it takes 7 days to get one of these in. Rush takes 5. And it's 9 days until Imola. I'm going to do 2 on rushed because at the very least we get 1 in on qualifying day. So that means we will have 2 for qualifying. And the side pods is what actually counterbalances this huge loss that we've had in engine cooling compared to everyone else. So at the very least we'll be brought back up there. I don't know what to do about the... There's a regulation vote coming up as well. I don't know what to do about the other, as I will try and set this. That's fine. I don't know whether to emergency manufacture... I don't know where it is now. I don't know whether to emergency manufacture the front wing for Imola. Because obviously the hope was for Imola doing it last is that these 2 car parts would be ready, at least, that we could put them on. This happened the first time around. I don't know why we fell so short on that. You can see we're falling down even further on DRS effectiveness already. And high speed, actually. We've lost 1 place already there. I'm actually going to have to use some big ones here. I'm going to take driver mentality hit on Zane, who, in fairness, is quite happy anyway. Oh, an affiliate as well. That's fine. Scouts I'm not using at this point anyway, so that's basically a free 720. And I'm going to have to use some big guns here. Yeah, this is obviously the bad side of having such a high engagement-based package for the season. Why is it not manufactured? I literally showed you me manufacturing these. Okay, I'm going to emergency manufacture 2 side pods, and I'll refund myself the difference between rushed and emergency, essentially. Rushed would be 1.35, and emergency is 3.6, so I need to get myself back 2 and a bit million. I literally showed you me doing this, so 2.3 essentially is what I need to give myself back and in cost cap. I'll have to remember that, but I've also done the front wing, and that has been done on emergency manufacture just because I want them all on the car. So we're now day off, and things are looking a little bit better. This is kind of what I was thinking we'd be at, roughly. Compare this to what you saw at the beginning for where we were in Imola, the previous version. DRS is obviously being pegged back. We're no longer strong in DRS, but it's obviously being pegged back. Medium speed we're not grading. Low speeds come in with the front wing mostly. Engine cooling's come in with the side pods mostly. Tire preservation's come in a little bit more again. And top speeds come in. So we're now average on that as well. So we're now 9th overall, which is still not the very front where we should be and where we were. Progress. Actually, with that in mind, when is the next ATR period? Oh, we actually have got a while. Are we on 7th? So 25 days away. That's enough to do 2 small parts at least. We're probably just going to have to do the rear wing at another later date. But it's enough time to get 2 of these in. So if we want to prioritize medium speed now, the parts that give biggest medium speed are actually rear wing. Annoyingly, it's actually rear wing, front wing that give the medium speed the best. And they're the ones that take the longest, so never mind. Chassis and underfloor, though, are okay. So we will do that because we have no more tunnel hours. And actually, this is giving big boosts no matter what I do. So bear in mind what applies to me applies to the AI. So this is effectively what the AI are getting. Because we've all got roughly similar expertise levels now that I've reset everyone to basically the same as each other. Just to try and equalize things out a bit. You see the situation though, even though it says 11% better engine cooling on this specific chassis, it's only equates to 2% here. You can see why specializing things works for you to help counterbalance the AI building more things. It's just they're building even more things now, and then that adds even more expertise, which makes their parts even better each time, which means even specializing your parts doesn't help you keep up. You still end up way behind because even though they're just generalizing their parts, they are building more of them and getting more out of them, even without specializing them. I don't know, this feels about right. It's not a huge gain. It does help top speed, weirdly, which is something that we've always been terrible at. And we'll do this normally, but of course, yes. I've only got 4 engineers. Interesting that has stuck then. So actually, funny thing, by the way, mine's the only engineering team that's actually stuck. So that my theory does actually hold firm. For some reason, mine is the only one that actually stayed as 4. All the others reverted back to 10 and 15, respectively. So I'm going to have to hope that the other measures I put in help counterbalance. See it. There we are. Since I was the only one limiting myself at that point, obviously I've given my engineers back to myself. But so they'll get sorted in 24 days, which is the day before the ATR period, if I'm not mistaken, reopens. So that's good. We'll do front and rear wing again at that point, I think, just to get that medium speed in. Oh, actually, they ended up coming in another day earlier. So you can see the situation. They were originally going to come in on the 9th. They came in on the 7th. So it's already taken 2 days off. If the AI are getting that kind of benefit and they do 3 or 4 parts at a time, you can see how the snowball effect starts. And crucially, they have unlimited money. So they are not limited by funds or cost cap. So they can just constantly make new parts faster and get the expertise gains from those, which then add to the previous expertise gains, so they just end up stacking and stacking and stacking, and it's gotten out of control, evidently. But anyway, we're doing this one properly. Interesting that it now says 14th or higher when our car is 9th overall, but 8th for Imola. An entirely intermediate practice 3, still get 100% though, which continues to what appears to be an intermediate qualifying session as well. And the one thing I will do here is the first time I've had to do it all year, but race... I'm slightly worried about how quickly the engines are going this year, even though I've not changed my engine provider. But I will change the engine and the gearbox, nonetheless, for this particular... Obviously still well within our banks. Oh, well, I think I know what I'm going to do. Actually, realistically, there's no bad reason to not get a banker in here. It's all intermediate one way or the other. But I'll just let them do it normally. I won't even take manual control. Why are people going again now when it's wetter? Oh, AI, sort yourself out. So in theory... we are the 5th best team, but we're the 4th best team here. And that's kind of tracking right now. I don't know who's ahead of us and who's behind us, but I would assume McLaren and Red Bull are 2 of the ones ahead. Seemingly Haas. Now, is this a case of going at the last second, or is it does flatten out? I think we basically just go when we see other people's... Why is nobody going? If people go now, they're not going to make it. Oh, well, I just won't go again then. Even though it's dry now, we would absolutely go to the top of the charts. There's no point going. That was weird. I didn't even see who we lost there, but both Williams, obviously, and an Alpine. One of the Mercedes as well, Vesti. Actually go first this time, I think. No one's going, and it does worry there's going to be hindrances here. Because I will do this one on manual. Should say, by the way, fixed the sponsors and Lando's number. So this is the first time you've seen the car in action again. I figured I'd point that out now. You probably maybe saw it in the background of when I was talking about car stuff. Since it is Lando's car that's shown in the background. A little bit difficult to see here because it is raining, but he now has 4 again. As he should do. And I swapped the sponsors around just so they kind of fitted a bit better. Same on the driver suits. Should click manual as well, by the way. That should help. That's worked out quite well. Okay, good times for our boys, and in theory, it should just get wetter. So, not by much, but in theory, it should do. Lawson splits our drivers, but that's it. And now it's definitely wetter, so we are fine. Well, it looks like we're going to lose Russell. Pourchaire might be a bit of a surprise. Sargent and Gasly, Perez and Albon. So perhaps we've got a case of actually here as well. Our car may be fourth best, but we do have 89 and 86 rated drivers, which is helping us be ahead of people like Liam Lawson, perhaps. Actually, I say that. Russell's 88, Pourchaire's 85 or 6 as well. Logan Sargent, obviously not quite so much, and I think Pierre's tapped out at maybe 85. So he's obviously a bit of both. Mentality helps as well, of course. Oh, is that actual dry at the end? Dare I say it? I don't know if it's worth a banker, because that's quite a drop in water levels. I don't think it's worth risking a crash. These times are all irrelevant. I kind of want someone to go earlier because I want to see what tyre they go on. Oh, we're running out of time, boys. What are we doing? Do we reckon that's dry? 220 is probably the last point in which I would go. We're going to take pole here, I think, regardless. I think intermediates we're still on. At least if I go now, we're still on intermediates. So effectively, it's all about who'll actually do better out of our two drivers, I think. Maloney's got his tyres up to temperature. Norris hasn't for some reason. But we'll go on board with Lando. Not a great time for that message to come in. But there's enough water on track that this won't be a problem, even though it has turned to dry. Actually, we'll get DRS. Oh, no. We were already past the DRS. If we'd waited another 20 seconds, we got DRS on top of that as well. Mildly annoying. I'll be honest, I'm not a huge fan of this. But when you consider effectively we were artificially slower than we should have been at Australia, and therefore the two subsequent races as well, because of the development the AI did between January the 1st and March when the first race happened, they still did way more and got way more of a benefit than they should have in that period as well. We may have had to nerf them at China just to keep things roughly where they should have been in theory. We're still behind the curve of where we should have been, I think, roughly. Now, I think at this point, we're basically back on par. I think we're still playing catch-up, to be frank, but, you know, we should still be second fastest, or within that pack. The fact we're having to scramble to still be top 10, essentially, is still a backward step, but obviously here we've made the most of their insane choice not to come back out again, as Lando nabs a pole. Race is dry, however, and they're telling me one stop. It is a long pit stop here, so I don't think two stop is faster. It's telling me that's 1 second slower, but I do need to give them a little bit more. They are 1 and 2, and they are both scheduled to come in on the same lap, which doesn't help. It's a 9-lap max, so we take 4 out because it's manual as well. So this time we do take the full amount that we normally take. We'll take every little advantage we can get out of this, frankly. And I think we are good to go.
Final checks are being carried out by the teams, and it won't be long until we get this race underway. Well, they certainly appear calm and composed heading into this race.
A second place start for them today. They'll be aiming for a podium, but could they even sneak the win?
Right, let's get to it then. The crowd are on their feet in anticipation of this, the Emilia-Romagna Grand Prix. And it's lights out, and away we go!
Lando pointing inwards, of course, just to get the best launch spot. He's got an excellent launch. Blimey! Apparently a year off of the sport has fixed out Lando's starts, and he's held on to that quite well. Although Zane is on his tail, and wow, by the time that was an interesting moment. And actually, that's compromised him quite badly. 1 lap down, I don't really know how much we can get away with here, if I'm completely honest. On pushing the tyres, at least. Everything else we can continue to push. Out of curiosity, everyone doing medium, weirdly, actually. Maloney's going for it. I'm not going to tell him not to. I'll tell him to come off the tyres now, because I think I'll bring him in second, probably. Or at the very least, it makes that decision clearer. He's got a little bit less tyre wear on his tyres, essentially. Are we just one big train, though? Oh, it splits to Leclerc, who had a shocking start. He's in 10th. Or did he qualify 10th? Oh, no, he qualified 10th. I think he was 7th to get into Q3. So maybe Haas aren't the fourth fastest or third fastest. I think it could still be McLaren, Red Bull and Ferrari. Haas are probably 4th. And Tsunoda's just insane, basically. And then obviously we said we were 9th, so I'm guessing we're 5th fastest. So I'll probably put Haas ahead of us. Oh, it's split a Piastri. I don't know if DRS is actually going to help us here or hinder us long term, because we get to go backwards and forwards, which I think might help build us a gap, because it's a long DRS and it's usually an easy overtake. Okay, so we seem to have dragged Piastri with us, But in theory, doing this maneuver every single time, A, helps our overall confidence now because we get more for an overtake than being overtaken now. And it appears to be a straightforward DRS overtake. Sargent's taken damage somewhere along the way. Well, we have dragged Piastri with us. And at some point, we do need to consider fuel. So everything seems to be okay. Slight panic as we did an overtake and there was a yellow flag at the same time. Oh, well, Crofty's announced things there. Oh, dear. Oh, dear, Lewis. Well, it was bound to happen eventually, wasn't it?
And the impact on the car, it's...
Max takes Lewis out. 4 races it took. 4 races. Now, this obviously is Max's fault. That's obviously Max's fault. Now, our tyres will go off first here. And yeah, Max does get the penalty, unlike in real life. No, actually kidding. He actually has had penalties, didn't he? Mexico, obviously, he got 20 seconds worth. Piastri's got through. Our soft tyres have gone. By the way, recording this week of Abu Dhabi, the Russell and Verstappen thing is wild. Can't believe it took to race 24 for something to kick off properly. So pit window has entered. I'm going to have to bring in Lando early, I think. I might actually even have to bring both drivers onto some kind of conservation level of tyre, just so I can both bring them in on respective laps. So I'll bring Lando in this lap and bring Maloney in next lap. So go all out there. You can probably go back on standard for the remainder. So the issue here, because I have to do this entirely on tyres because we can't see what we get a predicted output, but it's never right. The predicted where you're going to come out thing is never ever right, but it actually appears to be a good gap, which is good. Just a tiny smidge of aggressive maybe. Start conserving from here, start conserving from here. We're by ourselves. We'll probably end up being separated by virtue. Kind of want to make sure we get Max out of a second here, mate. Good, right, that's nice. Let's watch Maloney come in. Hard tyres go on. That looked okay as well. Not spectacular, but it looked okay. And the first pit elsewhere. Porsche's first in. Off the mediums. Everyone else was medium, I'm pretty certain. And Norris does get through. They did come out basically together again, but he's got his tyres up to temperature, which is the main thing there. And Maloney does have 2 seconds to fit a penalty, so I won't really bother about bringing his tyres up to temperature that way. He should be able to get them up naturally. Okay, so Norris is hitting a problem now. Good lord, that's a lot of people. Piastri is a science pit, though, which does mean that maybe other medium runners will come in. Porsche just went really early compared to everyone else for some reason. We actually get past Perez outside of DRS. Annoyingly, none of this pack actually pit. We actually don't get the undercut on Piastri. He's in this train on brand new cold tyres, in fairness. So we've actually we have got an undercut, haven't we? Because he was a few seconds ahead before. Alright, so we'll try and deploy Maloney through some more of these back markers, but now we're right behind Piastri, though. On hard tyres. Now they're only marginally worse. Antonelli massively wins here if there's a red flag. Norris passed Albon. I don't know if it's Piastri we're on now. Yeah, it is, isn't it? Yeah. I'm not sure if he's got through the Audi yet. Actually, you have to push Albon off the track, I think it was. So we're giving Piastri something to think about. He has actually got through Gasly, annoyingly. We're behind Gasly at the DRS detection point, though. So even though we're a second behind Piastri, who may have Sargent, I think Norris has DRS. He does. Okay, so Maloney, you have taken Albon now. Gasly just left. We're still recovering fuel during all this, by the way. I don't think Piastri's going to run away here, though, because... Alright, stop deploying there as well. You've got him. Antonelli finally pits, and both our drivers are 2 seconds away from each other and Piastri, essentially. Made that 3. Sargent still hasn't pitted, which is wild. But now he goes. Oh, hang on. Sainz has caught Maloney here. He's on a hard tyre as well. Bottas is the only person doing something different. He's on a medium. I don't really know what's happened with Sainz. He is going for it, evidently. Yeah, because they pitted a lot later, and his tyres are worse. So Sainz is going for it a little bit. But Norris has enough to fight him. And we should probably be watching this. We're still recovering fuel. 37 laps to go. But it does seem to be a bit backwards and forwards now. I knew we wouldn't win it, even though we were on pole. That just gave us a fighting chance to be on the podium, at least. Like, obviously, we were predicted, what, 7th, 8th? Or even 8th, 9th, it might have been. Even though this is our live race, we not ended up watching most of it. In fact, Norris is about to have a problem because he's going to be outside of a second on Sainz as well. So we might get back into a going backwards and forwards race. I am fascinated by that because we do have good tyre preservation and 100 out of 100 smoothness drivers. So Sainz pushing his tyres is confusing. In fact, Piastri's pushed his tyres as well. Well, I say that, actually. He might have not actually pushed his tyres. That might just be based on their tyre wear. But Sainz is a smooth operator. If he's not got 100 out of 100 with good mentality, I don't know who does. But they're all on a similar path now. In fact, we've actually completely recovered fuel, which I was kind of lost track of for a moment there. But we just don't have pace. Now we're not in DRS. In fact, Antonelli's caught us. But we are no longer recovering fuel, so that should help that differential. It's a much better race for Lawson, who usually goes backwards in these things. And the Hatters have recovered to 7th and 8th. So they are the 4th best car then. I'm confused by the Aston Martins at the very back, though. Are they terrible? Or does this not suit them? Oh, yeah, that's a good point, actually. Ferraris are out of position, aren't they? Probably. Because of the penalty to Verstappen and the injury to the other one. Just listed as a crash for Tsunoda, so let's watch this crash. Oh, he's just spun out. Okay, he's done the thing. 3 laps to go. I was marginally hoping for something more, if I'm completely honest. So we're trying to fend off Antonelli, but we're mostly doing it by overtaking each other. I think we've lapped Hamilton, who isn't listed as having an injury, but obviously he was damaged and then had to go into a very long pit as a result. Dragger Race locks up just to make sure that Bottas remains the primary driver there. We're doing well to fend off Antonelli, keeping a podium, effectively. So we're still a little ways off of challenging for wins. And bear in mind, obviously, we spent most of the start of that utilising DRS on each other and or Oscar Piastri. So we are artificially higher than we should have been had we qualified in a position more befitting our car. If we qualified 8th or 10th, or let's say, then we would obviously have been in a much worse position now. Because number 1, we're getting just straight up DRS boost, and number 2, we're getting this boost as well from the confidence. So our drivers are just naturally driving faster as well as getting DRS off each other. Okay, so overheating a little bit. Actually, Melodi's run out of fuel for some reason. So Antonelli came in later, obviously, but his tyres are all right. They're not much better than ours. If Norris can get through, because he does deserve to be ahead, that would be great. I'll tell Melodi not to fight now, just so he doesn't make any weird lunges. I'll tell Norris to use the extra fuel he's got just to make sure that keeps... The line comes at the beginning of the DRS, so we don't need to worry about an overtake on the line. But there should be a podium for Norris, which we will get to watch. Just make sure we got a bit on the tank. We could have deployed with both drivers, but there's no real point doing it. 3-4, that's good. We'll take that. We're still 15 seconds off the lead, though. But Lando, a little bit used to being in a situation where he's going to have to drive a car that's terrible at the start of the season. That eventually picks up to being podium. Admittedly, we've done it a little bit faster than they did in that particular season, but Perez still gets a point. There we go. There's Lando. I think I need to change. I just realised. Wow, okay, that was a bit weird with the ghosting. That's probably Lando's favourite podium. His former teammate and his best friend. Essentially. It's basically his 2 best favourite teammates. Yeah, because they made it so that the colours of your engineers and what have you now match. I think I need to change the suit colours to match as well. We'll absolutely take... I know we were 1st and 2nd, but we'll absolutely take 3rd and 4th. I was expecting Oscar and Sainz to be a thing at some point. That's 3rd and 6th for Zane and Lando in opposite respective order. You can see, look, Charles Leclerc's 5th in the Haas, so he's doing all right. Table Shed not doing so well, weirdly, but they are 4th in the championship. So we take this as a rough estimate of the overall quality of the cars now 4 races in. Red Bull are up there, McLaren are up there. Again, they are being hindered by a slightly worse second driver in Lawson, who at least is faring slightly better than Daniel Ricciardo, I think. Oscar Piastri 72 points, Lawson 10. No, he's not. Alpine seem to have improved a little bit actually this season by the looks of things. Mercedes still bad. Don't have great pit stops, and we do have to pay our drivers for that. Oh, did we get actually that regulation vote? It was about underfloor. Voted for, so major underfloor changes is what's happened. F3 driver talent. They think Emma Mack is good. We can't actually do that because I'm fully... yeah, I'm pretty certain we've given our scouts away to sponsorship purposes. Oh dear, we need to build a... we are designing a new underfloor, which comes in 20 days. So we need that one to get through 2 more races, so we will build more. We've had a race here. Oh, speaking of Emma Mack, she's 3rd there. Abby Pulling won the first race of the season. Barnard came from 29th to finish 5th. That's the most recent one. Where I don't even see Abby Pulling. Oh, there she is, 13th. Oh, our lads are doing all right in F2, though. Well, at least they did in the first race. Cop and TA is still there. Excellent. Both drivers are very enthusiastic as well, which is good. Who's the one who isn't? I'm going to presume Pierre Washer, yeah. I'm going to say he's the one who's not enthusiastic at all. But there we go. We've had a decent race there. I'll take that. Absolutely. What's this? That's the hospitality area upgrade complete. I think that's the last one for that. No changes for Miami. Underfloor and chassis come in for Canada, which is the sprint race. So I will cover that. We will no longer do any emergency parts because we've got a car onto a reasonable standing now. A driver is going to get 1 underfloor and 1 chassis, I think, by that point. Intriguingly, Daniel Ricciardo is available and will... I'm just gonna punt a contract at him. I haven't scouted at him, but obviously he's not happy being affiliate, but... Oh, he's actually accepted that contract, weirdly. So welcome, Daniel. You are entirely here to do this and to be friends with Lando. So the faster we can get car parts in, we can't build them any faster, of course, but... So the faster we can design car parts, the faster we can get them on the car. We can't really build any more car parts than we would normally over the course of a season because of rules and regulations and finance caps for us that the AI are limited to. It should at least help us at the start of each ATR period get that jump faster. So every little helps in that regard, in the sense that we might be able to get better pieces on for 1 or 2 more races this season than we would do normally. That's my hope at best. It's a reasonable amount of money to actually give to a driver who's literally just there in the background, but he's out of contract. He's not well rated, so I figured either we put him on for that and maybe we stick him on marketability at some point as well, because he is very marketable. If we can maybe bring in another driver later in the season is there another driver we can bring in for that purpose? Here's the obvious choice. We'll bring back our original affiliate driver, who is now out of contract. Okay, so what are we thinking here? Yeah, that'll do me. I'm not bothered by that. So we get him on development, we get Daniel on marketability, and we get Miguel on car development because his development rate is bad anyway. So he's entirely here just to help us make things better, faster. He's still in F3 as well. And Daniel's here for 2 years for marketing purposes. So we get to reunite Lando with Daniel, and everyone's happy. There we are. Those driver development focuses may have actually broken the game in this respect, but I get to at least do some realism with them. At the same time, it's brought in a massive unrealistic situation. I will make the best of it in other areas and other aspects. I try my best. I hope you appreciate that I'm trying. Anyway, thank you for joining me. If you've got comments on this whole palaver, then please put them down below. Like, comment, subscribe, all that jazz. Until next time, I hope this doesn't get any worse. Ta-ra.